Welcome to the Let's Talk Events podcast. Let's take a look at some of the events and activities that are happening here in Oshkosh. I'm Andy Radig from Oshkosh Media. Joining me is Kathy Snell, the Special Events Coordinator for the City of Oshkosh. And Kathy, this is our first podcast for this series. So let's introduce ourselves to our listeners. What types of things do you do in your job role?
My role currently with the city is as a special events coordinator. And so a lot of people ask kind of what does that mean? And I am a liaison for event organizers in the community and help them navigate our processes and procedures throughout all the departments and services that we may have to provide. We evaluate their plans. We talk to them about some concerns that we may have from a city perspective, impacts on community resources, neighborhoods, business areas, and so forth. And so we kind of work together to mitigate that impact, hoping to always obviously host successful events, both for the event organizers and for our community as a whole.
And I'm sure that as we continue forward in these podcasts, the listeners will learn a lot more about all of those details. They have no idea what types of things go into all of these sorts of events.
That's the goal. I think many times people come into planning an event and not to say they minimize their planning, but I think that there is a lot that goes into an event that people maybe don't realize upfront when they decide they're going to host an event, especially one that is for the general public. You know, many of us might host birthday parties or weddings or baby showers, things of that nature. But when we are opening up those events to the public, there's a whole another dynamic that needs to be considered. And so our role is just really to work with them and make that a smooth process for them and hopefully, share our experience and knowledge as well.
Mm-hmm. And I know you have a lot of experience working with these sorts of things. Processes have even improved over the years and all that sort of thing too. So we'll get more into it as we go along. But I should just give a little bit of background about myself as well. I work here in the Oshkosh Media Division, and I'm the communications coordinator for the city. So in my job, I work a lot with nonprofits, helping them to get their word out, much like some of your work, working with some of the groups that come in and do events. I might be on the other end of some of that, helping them to do a public service announcement to promote something that's coming up. So I also work with city staff, which I am also doing here today, and work with them on their communications goals. And we try to find ways to get the message out about different things that are happening from a city standpoint. Also, I utilize the Oshkosh media outlets. So the podcast system is one of our newer ones. So we're excited to be doing this, and also work with the radio station and our cable TV channels and different things that we do. So I'm also working with social media for the city and very active with that. And then also hosting programs. So today is an example of one of the programs that I'm involved with, doing some hosting and talking about events today. So I think the best thing is, why don't we just dive right in and take a look at what's coming up a little bit later here. So I know we have a lot going on, and this time of year is very busy with ice fishing and those types of things. And I believe that we have our annual Otter Street Fisheree coming up.
We do. The Otter Street Winter Fisheree is sponsored by the Otter Street Fishing Club. That fishery has been a popular community event for over 6 decades, with changes along the way. In 2021, they brought in some pond hockey, which kind of brought a new focus to the event a little bit, changed it up. That seems to be pretty popular. They've stuck with that for the last few years. Looking forward to doing that again this year. So there are pond hockey games, and then the puck drops at 3:30 that day, and there's actually a charity pond hockey game at that time.
And Kathy, can you remind us of the date of the Otter Street Winter Fisheree?
Absolutely. That fishery is going to be hosted on Saturday, February 1st. The tent will open at 10 a.m. that morning. People will potentially be out fishing well before then, but the tent will actually open for the day at 10 a.m. They'll have some kid games, raffle tickets, food and beverages available for purchase. And then, as I stated before, there'll be some hockey tournaments and games going on as well.
Yeah, and this is down by Menominee Park, I believe?
Yes, all of our events in February actually happen in Menominee Park.
Okay.
Seems to be a great place to host the winter events. Nice big parking lots and right next to the lake.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people I talk to look forward to, and it certainly is a popular event. So I know that they have different things that they do, like raffles and different things that are not necessarily all even related to the fishing.
So 10 o'clock when the tent opens, they'll actually start their fish registration. So people can be out fishing. They can start bringing their fish in for weighing and so forth around 10 o'clock. And that will happen between 10 and 3:30 that day. During that time, as I mentioned, there'll be kid games and raffle prizes and games and different things going on inside and outside the tent. There will be food available in the tent until 6 p.m. At 6 o'clock, the Grand Union Band will take the stage, and they will play from 6 to 10:30 that evening. The tent closes at 10:30, so there's plenty of time to enjoy music and beverages. No food after 6 p.m. So if you want to get in there for food earlier, that will be available until 6.
Okay, very good. Yeah, it sounds like a full day of different events and different things going on there. Can you speak to if there will be any street closures?
Absolutely. This event, there will be no street closures. We do ask that people are cautious in parking in the Menominee Park, Millers Bay parking lot area, as that is that is where the tent is located, but we also have some parking available in there too. So please be mindful of the barricades that are up and in place to secure that area from vehicles driving in where the pedestrians are walking.
Okay. Probably along with that, just a note to residents that Hazel Street might be a little bit busier that day as well. Yeah,
this one may not be quite so much as the one we're going to talk about in a little bit. That one affects our neighborhoods just a little bit more heavily. This one, most of the parking is contained, but yes, Hazel may have some of the parking on that roadway as well.
All right. And any other thoughts about the Otter Street Fisheree?
Just pop down and, enjoy a little music and grab yourself some food and watch the fish come in.
All right. That sounds pretty good. I know that something else that's been an annual event that happens not just in Oshkosh, but we're happy that it always does happen in Oshkosh, is the Polar Plunge. And that will be coming around again. And if you can tell us a little bit about the background with that.
Yeah, so the Polar Plunge is sponsored by the Special Olympics Wisconsin Association here in the area. They help raise funds for over 1,400 Special Olympic Wisconsin athletes. And so the Polar Plunge is something that they do throughout the state. You'll find that there are locations in various areas. So here in Oshkosh, that event will be on Saturday, February 8th. Again, down in Menominee Park, this will be held. They'll actually use the same tent that all three of them use for their events throughout the month of February. So beginning at the beginning of February through the Battle on Bago, which we'll talk about coming up next year, there will be a tent put up in Menominee Park, and we actually encourage them to use some similar vendors and keep the tents up during that time. We went to this and encouraged them to work together several years ago. Many people don't realize that when tents are being put up and taken down, the amount of damage that could potentially happen to your hard surfaces. And so the less impact that we can have in those areas, the better. And so while they do go through and they fill their holes in the parking lots, that's still just a lot of wear and tear. And so we've encouraged the event organizers who are putting these up throughout the winter months to actually work together so that when we put them up, we can keep them up and not keep taking them out. The other thing that people don't really think about or know about is that here in Wisconsin, when the ground freezes, if you're putting up tents stakes into the ground and the ground freezes, you can't exactly remove them easily.
Okay.
So this again eliminates having to, either leave them in and then end up putting new ones in. So by collaborating with the tent vendors and keeping them in place, we're actually doing a good job for the safety and security of people driving through the park. And obviously, if there's tents in the way and the stakes and things don't move throughout those 3 weeks, we don't have to worry about taking them out, putting them back in, and then also leaving some in the ground that maybe somebody might hit by a tire. So we actually really encourage them to just leave the tents up so that we wouldn't have to deal with those safety issues.
Okay, so if folks are driving over in that on the east side there, they might see that tent up for quite a while, even though
Yes.
there's not an event like on a weekday, for example.
Correct. And truly, because of the amount of setup between some of the events, it actually just works out really well. They're setting up and tearing down for those weekdays in between those events. It made sense to just keep them in those locations. And while sometimes we don't like to see those things, there are reasons behind why it's better than not. The stakes in the ground, we do encourage them also to mark off with cones. So if you see the orange cones, those are the stakes and the lines that are coming off of the tent. So beware of those as well.
Mm-hmm. Just curious, if the tent is up, for multiple events, does that actually maybe save costs for those individual events that happen?
Absolutely, it does. Sharing in those costs and not having the labor of putting in and taking down, definitely. It's definitely a collaboration in keeping them, looking at their finances too, and keeping those costs limited.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, just to remind folks, the Polar Plunge is coming up on February 8th, and that is a benefit for Special Olympics Wisconsin. And again, those times are 9:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. that day, and the plunges begin at 12 noon. So I guess we'll see what the weather's like, and as we record this, it's quite polar outside, so we'll see how chilly it is that day. It's always kind of fun to see people in swimsuits that are we're running around when it's like sub-zero outside.
Yeah, they're definitely happy when they know that they have sponsors that help out with those hot tubs afterwards.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to warm up. All right. Well, we have another fishing event, and I think people might be familiar with this one. It's the Battle on Bago. That's coming up too.
Yes, Battle on Bago will be hosted on Friday, February 14th and Saturday, February 15th. This event began in 2017 by a group of Oshkosh Southwest Rotarians to support area youth and conservation efforts. Over that time, they have donated or generated almost $1.95 million.
Wow.
That is going back into the community, into those nonprofit organizations' youth and conservation efforts. So many of you may be approached by individuals in the community saying, "Hey, do you want to buy a raffle ticket to support Battle on Bago?" Ultimately, that's supporting their organization. And so they work with a lot of the youth groups and others in the community to sell the raffle tickets, and they get to keep part of the proceeds from that. So it's a great way for them to get out there in the community and get people supporting their nonprofits as well.
Mm-hmm. And is there any kind of admission charge to go into the Battle on Bago?
There is not. So you can go into the tent for free. If you want to participate in either the fishing or the raffles, clearly you need to buy tickets. There's two different ways of doing that. So they have a fishing where you buy a ticket, you get a fish, you bring it in, and you get put into a drawing for that. And then you can also do the raffle tickets for the other items as well. The way that the raffle is structured, everybody has a chance to win. And so I think that's, really a great way to get people to purchase the tickets. They have some incredible prizes. And you don't just, you don't have to catch the biggest fish to get the biggest prize. So it's a great opportunity to, have a little fun with some raffle tickets and fishing. And, just support your local organizations.
Okay. Well, I have to admit, I am not a fisher myself. I'm more of a land lover. So I think there might be some opportunities for folks like me to enjoy this event, even though I don't necessarily go fishing.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if you don't want to come down and watch the fish weigh in, you obviously have an opportunity on Friday evening. They do have food throughout the event in the big tent, but they also have a Friday fish fry in the tent starting Friday evening, along with live music by the Glam Band this year. Glam Band is new to them this year. In the past, they've used a different band. So I'm expecting a pretty large turnout for the Glam Band. So it'll be kind of exciting and new for people to come out and enjoy.
I've seen the Glam Band, and they're pretty incredible. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. And you caught my attention with the fish fry. That sounds very good. Even though I don't go out and catch fish, I sure enjoy eating them at a Friday fish fry. So that sounds really good. And as you mentioned, so there will be food and drinks available both days of the event. But I know this is a pretty big event, isn't it?
It is. They in the past have had 10,000 people. So
Wow.
This is a very large event. Last year we had some challenges. We didn't have some, great conditions out on the lake last year. And so being out there, they had some stipulations as far as driving on the ice, and which, encouraged people then that they needed to park more on land, which obviously we only have so many streets. We only have so much parking available. So it did kind of jam things up a little bit. However, right now we're looking at some great ice. The reports are good. We just hope that, well, many of us don't like the cold weather. It's great for ice fishing, and it's great for an event like this. So just be advised, it's an extremely large event with cars, ATVs, sleds. They're parked throughout the park and the surrounding areas. Drive slow, be cautious as you look for parking places, know that people may be crossing streets where they typically wouldn't be. So, a lot of people are coming out for this event, both during the daylight hours and, evening or early morning where it's darker. So please be very cautious as you're driving in and around Menominee Park and other places to ensure that you are watching for pedestrians and other vehicles. Well, no streets will actually be closed. We do no park certain roadways on one side of the street, again, just to help with some of that congestion and making sure we can see cars and people and things that are on the roadway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just those safety concerns, trying to make sure everybody can get through and so pedestrians can cross the street and not worry about a car quick coming around the corner or something.
Yeah. And for those that are coming, we just ask that you, be a good human, be a good neighbor. These individuals live in and around the lakes, and just be respectful of their driveways, their mailboxes, and things of that nature. So that we can all enjoy a really great event.
Yeah, and there's some parking available in that space between Parkway and Irving?
We do. So the green space, pending weather, so as long as the weather is good and the ground conditions are good, we do allow for green space parking. And so people, that does help tremendously on the ability to get people off of the streets a little bit and into some of that green space parking. So that will, likely again be available. Considering where we are with cold temperatures right now, I would anticipate that will be open for parking.
Yeah. As we record this, it's mid-January and it's been quite cold, and anticipating that weather to continue, I would think the ice conditions would continue to be good for a while.
Let's hope so.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Now that I said that, probably
right?
By the time February comes around, no, let's hope for the best. Maybe just to recap a little bit about Battle on Bago. Again, that is February 14th and 15th. So it is a fishing event, but there are also different activities with music on Friday night, a Friday fish fry. Any other highlights that you'd like to mention?
Raffles. They also sell a lot of Battle on Bago gear. So sweatshirts, jackets, hats, all of those types of things too. Get to the tent early because those things sell out quickly.
All right. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. And a reminder, too, the Polar Plunge is on February 8th, also at Menominee Park. Do you know specifically which location in Menominee Park where that one
Sure.
is?
All of these are going to be, as we mentioned before, with the tents. The tent will be set up in Menominee Park at Millers Bay parking lot. So there is parking in and around that area as well for all of the events. But again, please be cautious and mindful of where the barricades are in order to stay out of the pedestrian areas. So you may go in and look. If the areas are filled up, our police department is out there and will let you know that you can no longer access that for parking, and they'll direct you elsewhere. So, big thanks for them for being out in the cold temperatures and being out there to help with directing traffic and so forth as well.
Right. And also that Otter Street Winter Fisheree is on Saturday, February 1st. And again, that is sponsored by the Otter Street Fishing Club. Again, a great fishing event, but also a great event for the community. They have that pond hockey charity game, and they have food before 6 p.m. and then the tent with entertainment in the evening. So that looks to be a great event as well.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever been down to see pond hockey, but it's kind of a lot of fun to watch.
Well, now I'm interested to go see it. So that sounds really good. All right, Kathy, I know that Discover Oshkosh has resources available on their website for more events that are happening in Oshkosh, even beyond what we talked about today, so folks can learn about things there. Any other resources or ideas that you'd like to pass along regarding winter activities?
Specifically for these, please go out, check out the Facebook pages, go to their websites. All the information is out there, and especially keep track of the Facebook pages for all of the event organizers. They do a really great job of keeping their Facebook pages updated so that if there are changes or updates to the event, you can likely find them there. So lots of places for you to find information. And people are always welcome to contact, myself as well if they have questions in advance of the events also.
Okay. And Kathy, how can folks reach you if they have a question about something?
Sure. They can actually just contact the Oshkosh Parks Department, and I am located in that office, so they can let them know they're looking for information on an event, and they will be directed to me.
Okay, perfect. Well, this is our first podcast for Let's Talk Events, and I think it went okay.
I hope so.
Oh, it did. It did. I think it went great. So we encourage folks to catch us the next time. We'll be talking about events coming up March and other things in the winter here. So thanks again for listening today, and we're glad that you could join us.
Thanks, Andy.